Just want to say thank everybody for coming. It's a good group. I just want to give a quick recap of since our last meeting we had the Gatsby event. It went really well. Had 181 turnout. Looking around, got sponsor Nathaniel Ledbetter here. Thank you for that. You can clap, it's okay. Sponsor Jonathan Barbie. And then our speaker John Merrill. So I don't want to know anything. I know everybody's busy, so I want to go ahead and just get right into it for now, and then we can finish up with some other stuff later. The guy that's about to speak is a representative out of Tuscaloosa, and he's also candidate for Secretary of State. From what I can tell, he is by far the hardest working man in politics. Every time I get on Facebook, every Twitter, anything I see, emails, he's somewhere else in the state, and it's not from Rainsville to Fort Payne. It's one corner of the state to the other corner of the state in the same day. I'm exhausted watching him, and I have a great appreciation the more I'm in this for what he does. And I just want to introduce him now at this time. It's like calling my friend John Merrill.
Appreciate that, Jordan. Jordan is my friend, and I tell you how you know somebody's your friend. It's when you need something and you call them, and then they produce. Now that's why I never call Nathaniel. But Jordan is my friend, because when we had the parade on Labor Day, I knew that I had to have a Jeep or a pickup or a convertible or something. And I was hoping that Ashley had a convertible and she would drive, because I knew that would draw attention to the vehicle. But she didn't. But George said, I do have a Jeep. And I didn't know he had just gotten it like 3 or 4 days before. And so we got up there and he drove me in that parade, and it was a great opportunity for me. But one of the things that was really frustrating was when we got toward the end, because Todd Greason had told me, he said, now when you start running, he said, there's 2 things you need to come to. You need to come to the Potato Festival in Henniker, and you need to make sure that you come to Ider for Labor Day. So July the 4th, where was I? Henniker, okay? September the 3rd, right here. In Ider, just a little piece from here, riding in that parade. We got toward the end. I thought I had plenty of candy. You know, I'd bought big bags, and I was throwing a little bit here, a little bit there, trying not to throw just handfuls, but I'd target people, and I'm throwing it to them. We got on up toward the end, and this one daddy was there. This is like the last 100 yards. And he said, had these 2 little girls with him, where's your candy? I said, I'm out. He said, we're out of votes. This does my head. There wasn't anything I could do. But I did learn a lesson. So I told Jordan, I said, when we come back next year, after we've got the nomination and we're moving forward toward the general election, I'll have plenty. And I can assure you of that. It's a pleasure for me to be with you and to be in DeKalb County. I was telling somebody that they had asked me earlier, have you got an apartment up here yet? And I said, no. But this will be the 6th time that I've been here in the last 2 weeks. And a lot of people had told me, and I told some of y'all this when I first came up here in December of last year and first started campaigning, when I met a number of you at my very first trip. People have told me, you don't need to come up here. You don't need to be in DeKalb County. Well, we've been to Geraldine, we've been to Fife, we've been to Crossville, we've been to Collinsville, we've been to Fort Payne, we've been to Ider, we've been to Henniker, we've been to Rainsville. If there's a community, I haven't been to the dog patch yet, but if there's a place, I've been to Mentone. We've been all over, and the reason is because there are people all over here, and these people are going to vote, and I want them all to vote for me. And I told this the first time I came up here, but I want the people in this area to feel like I'm one of them. I had told that when I was growing up, I went to Boy Scout camp at Mentone, Camp Comer, and all of you know where that is. And I went up there as a camper for 5 years, and then I also worked there for 2 summers. And so I spent a lot of quality time up here in the summer of my 11th and 12th grade year. And I know all of these places. It's not just something I looked up in the book. It's because I've been there, and I've got friends that live there, and I've got more friends that live there now than I've ever had at this point in my life. I'm not going to tell you any more than some of you I've told 4 or 5 times. You've probably already given my talk. And I have given each of you a sheet to tell you a little bit about me. That biographical narrative should answer any question that you would hope to have about me. And on the back side of that sheet, there's a legislative narrative that talks about the legislative accomplishments that I've produced since I've been a member of the body. And I would hope that you might have some questions that you'd like to ask me about my service and about my goals and about my plans for this office. You know, I made a commitment to the people of House District 62 when I announced my candidacy on July the 13th, 2009, that I was going to concentrate on 5 areas. I was going to concentrate on improving education, improving the economy in Tuscaloosa County, West Alabama, and throughout the state, working to make conditions more favorable for economic development purposes, working on ethics reform and accountability and transparency in government. And since that time, if you look at the narrative, you know that those are the things that not only I've concentrated on, but the things that the members of the body have concentrated on, and we've made a lot of improvements and a lot of changes. There's still a lot more to do, but we've done some very positive things. But probably the thing that I'm the happiest about having the privilege to serve and being able to make a difference in people's lives is meeting the needs of my constituents, where they've got issues and they've got concerns and they've got problems, and I get to work with them. On July the 4th, 2012, it was in the middle of the day, and just like most of y'all probably already had something to eat for lunch. You're looking forward to some more barbecue or fireworks later on that evening after going swimming. And I was in the house checking the computer. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon, and the 4th of July last year was on Wednesday. And I'm checking these emails, and there's this one email, and it's like a page on the screen. And so I started reading it, and this lady, Sharon Allen, was sharing this story with me about a major problem that she and her husband DJ were having with the Secretary of State's office involving an adoption that they were trying to culminate with that department. And they had been told that there were no concerns, there wouldn't be a problem, but now they were a week out on July the 13th. If they didn't have everything done, their adoption was going to be off. And so she sent this email to 10 elected officials, and I was the only one that called. And when I called her that afternoon, she said, "I can't believe you called me on your off day." And I said, "Is your off day too?" I said, I'm just working. You've got a problem, and I want to try to help you." So she explained to me what had happened. When they realized they had to go through the Secretary of State's office to have their paperwork validated, she had been told by them, "Don't worry about it, send this down here to us. We do this each and every day. It's not a concern." So they didn't hand deliver it like they had said that they would. They just put it in the mail and sent it down there, UPS, FedEx, some service like that. And their paperwork got lost. So they started to go through the process of trying to recover the paperwork, and they couldn't do it. And so basically what happened was she had let this drag on for about 3 weeks, and she had reached her wit's end, and that's when she sent the email. So I asked her, I said, "Do you think you can put everything together and have it for me this weekend?" And she said, "I think I can," because some of her documents were originals. So she had to go back and recreate. So Sunday night after church, Cindy and I went to meet her at Publix, a grocery store there in Tuscaloosa. And she gave me a package. And then as she was giving me this package, she said, "I need to make sure that you understand something that happened to me Friday." I said, "Okay." She said, "I got a call from the Secretary of State's office. And they said, 'We understand that you've got Representative John Merrill working for you on this adoption program.'" And she said, "I do." And they said, "Why do you have him working on this?" And she said, "Because he's our legislator and we need some help." And they said, you don't need any help. We got everything taken care of, and we're going to be able to get this done." And she said, I'm just not real comfortable with that." And they said, "We got everything under control." And she said, "Apparently you don't." And so that's why he's going to be there with this information on Monday morning. They said, "We don't need him or any other legislator involved. We can take care of this for you." Well, that was the end of the conversation. She hung up. I was really irritated at that point. And the main reason that I was irritated was because when they found out that I was involved, and it wasn't just because it was John Merrill, it could have been any legislator working on behalf of that constituent, they put it in 5th gear. because they were trying to make sure that they met the needs of that person at that point, because they didn't want that to look bad. But it irritated me because when they put it in fifth gear, if they had done that all along, there would not have been a concern. They could have had everything taken care of. The people in Montgomery all too often look at the people that are in DeKalb County, that are in Geneva County, that are in Cleveland County, Randolph County, Lawrence County, all over the state, just like they would look at you if you called. 334-242-7200. But they don't treat you like they would if it was Robert Bentley that placed that call, or if it was another elected official that placed that call. And I'm here to tell you that that needs to change. What needs to happen is the people who are in those offices need to be responsive to the people who are in the state of Alabama, the 4.8 million people who live in this state, who pay those people's salaries each and every day. So I went down there Monday morning and I took that paperwork. I walked in there about 8:30. I wanted to give them time to get in and get settled. They nowhere to be found. They said, you can just leave it with us and we'll take care of it. And I said, no thanks. I said, we've already tried that one time. So I went on to my office at the State House, and about 9:15 I called again. She still wasn't there. So at 10:30 I checked one more time and they said, well, she's here. So I walked back down 2 blocks, went in the office, gave it to her. She said, thank you for bringing this, we'll take care of it. I said, do you think you could look at it with me while we're here? So she went over it with me. 3 documents still needed to be certified in Tuscaloosa. So we were able to get the paperwork back to Tuscaloosa, get everything taken care of, and then we turned it back in about 4:30 that afternoon. And I'm happy to report to you that in April of this year, Emma came from China to live with DJ and Sharon Allen. Now I'm telling you this, that's the reason that I wanted to be a member of the Alabama legislature. So I could help people solve their problems and meet their needs and make their families be what they want their families to be, without government interference, but by using the government and the governmental agencies necessary to make sure that those needs are met without an encumbrance. When this process was completed, I was talking to my wife, Cindy, and I said, you know, I'm really concerned about this office and what might happen to this office after Beth Chapman leaves. She's done a good job. She's firmly committed to serving the people. But I'm afraid that the people that follow her may not be as committed as she's been. And I said, I think I'd like to look at this. This is something I've been interested in since I was 14. And she said, what? She said, I've never heard you say anything about this before, and I've known you for 30 years. And I said, well, it's kind of like this. When I was 14 years old, my dad was the probate judge in Cleveland County, where I grew up. It fell his lot to put together these community events and activities that we would have. And just like you still have in a lot of different areas today, we had these old-fashioned barbecues where you had dinner on the ground, you had a group come play on flatbed truck, and this was at the old-style courthouse like you can imagine. And that day we had a lot of speakers that came. Now this was 1978, so this was the last time that Albert Brewer ran for governor, and it was the first time Bill Baxley ran for governor, and it was the first time Governor James ran, and Charlie Graddick was running for Attorney General. And there was a young man that came there that I'd never seen before. He was tall, nice looking, had real good hair. And I said to my dad, who is this guy and what's he running for? And he said, his name is Don Siegelman, and he's running for Secretary of State. And I said, what does the Secretary of State do? I'm 14 years old. He said, well, that person's in charge of monitoring our elections process, they're in charge of business and corporations and licensing and trademark, and they're in charge of international adoptions. And I said, that sounds like something I might be interested in looking at sometime. So I started watching that race. And then I saw Don Siegelman win the nomination in September. And then I saw him get elected in November, get reelected in 1982. In 1986, I saw Glenn Browder get elected. He served for 2.5 years. And then Congressman Bill Nichols, who I had worked for as an intern when I was a freshman at the university, he died in his office in Washington. Glenn Browder ran and got elected to that congressional seat to represent the 3rd District. So Governor Hunt had to appoint somebody to fill that unexpired term. he appointed a state senator from Baldwin County, Perry Hand. He was the first Republican to hold that office at Reconstruction. He served for a year and a half, and then he ran for a full term, and he was defeated by Billy Joe Kemp. And Mr. Kemp served for 2 years, and then he resigned to become the director of the Alabama Development Office, which is now the Secretary of Commerce. Governor Folsom appointed him to that position to help with the Mercedes project. And I helped Mr. Kemp because I was the assistant director of the Tuscaloosa County Industrial Development Authority when we were trying to recruit Mercedes. So that created another vacancy. So Jim Bennett was appointed to fill that unexpired term. He came out of the Senate, he was representing Homewood. So he served for 2 years, then got elected to the full term, and then got re-elected 4 years later. Then in 2002, Nancy Worley ran, and she was elected. And then in 2006, she was defeated by Beth Chapman. Beth Chapman was re-elected in 10, and then she resigned, as you know, on August 1st. Jim Bennett got reappointed, and he's Secretary of State today. So when I tell you I've been watching that office for a long time and paying attention to the things that those people do, you know that I'm sincere. Of the 7 people that I mentioned, I've already met with 5 of them. Only 2 I haven't met with are Nancy Worley, and she's typically viewed as the poorest Secretary of State in modern times, and Governor Siegelman, and he's in the pokey. And so I won't be trying to see him in prison anytime in the near future. But I tell you that to tell you that this office is a very important office in the state. And I need your vote and your support to make sure that this office serves the people the way that it needs to serve it, without any favoritism to anyone. So if you give me the privilege to do that, this is what I guarantee you. Number one, we're going to have fair elections that will have the kind of integrity that you expect, that will enhance the opportunity for each and every person in our state to be able to participate at the level that they want to participate. Number two, in the area of elections, our people who go to vote expect that their vote's going to be counted the same regardless of who they are. So when you go to vote on June the 3rd, 2014, it doesn't matter who you are. You're going to have to pull out your photo voter ID to be able to participate in that elections process. We passed that law in 2011 to help secure the right for each and every one of you to know that your vote is protected. Number three, in the area of elections, we've got 56,000 Alabamians that we've been able to identify that are across seas, that are fighting for us right now. But sometimes we can make every effort to ensure that those people have the same right to participate as you and you and you and you and you do. But we don't know that they get their ballot to be able to return it for an absentee. Now this is what I want to know. I want to know why I can take this thing right here, okay? Or I can take this thing right here, and I can communicate with somebody in China, somebody in Indonesia, India, Australia, or wherever, and I can't use that method to find a secure way for our armed services members to vote and have it count just like yours does. I'll tell you, we can do it, and we're going to do it. Other states are doing it. The time for that has come for us to implement, and we're going to do it in the state of Alabama. Third, but certainly not least, we want to make sure that you understand that in the area of business and corporations and licensing, trademark, if you have that paperwork processed in the state of North Carolina, it takes between 7 and 10 days to get it done. If you do it in Delaware, it takes about 3 days to get it done. But if you do it in Colorado, they'll do it the same day. But if you call 334-242-7200 and you ask them, how long will it take me to get my paperwork done if I want to start a new business in DeKalb County, they'll tell you it takes 4 months.
Huh?
Now, if you'll pay an expedited fee, they'll get it done in a week. In a week. Now, I'll tell you what else. If you work with a lawyer in this county that does this on a regular basis, they'll tell you it takes between 6 and 9 months to get it done if they don't pay the expedited fee. If they'll do it for $100 extra to get it done in a week, they can get it done in a week. They'll just change the priorities. And that starts at the top. with leadership and people who are committed to making sure that it's done in the most effective and efficient way possible. Last but certainly not least, in the area of adoptions and quality of life issues that go through that office, when families need to go through that office to make sure that their family becomes whole, we need to do everything we can to support them in that process and not to put up additional obstacles or additional roadblocks to encumber them. So I'm telling you, all they need is just to be expected to be treated just like you would if it were a member of your family and you worked in that office. So I'm telling you, I want to work with them to make sure that the ones that are not interested in doing that we do everything we can to help them find another place to work besides 600 Dexter Avenue. And you've been very patient. So if you've got any questions, I'd love to answer them. Because I came up here tonight just to see you, and I'm going to stay here tonight, and I'm going to visit with some people tomorrow at the town hall here in Rainsville, at the Fort Payne City Hall, at the courthouse, and then we're going to the county commission meeting, and then we're going to speak at the Rotary Club tomorrow before we start heading back south. But I need your help, and I need your vote, and I can't be any more clear than that. So what would you like to know about me? Anything, whatever you want to know. Any questions? Comments? Go ahead, George.
Just because I know your campaign style, and I know you're running against two men that aren't legislators, are you going to be able to keep up this pace and be an effective legislator when the time comes?
That's a great question. Because one of the things that Jordan has observed, he talked about Facebook and Twitter, and if you're not getting our newsletter now, or if you're not a friend on Facebook, you can't be a Facebook friend unless I do for you what I did for Ashley and what I did for Jordan, which I'll do for you if it's important to you. You need to send me a direct message and tell me you want to be my friend, and I'll delete somebody to get you on there. But I've got 5,000 friends, and they won't let me take any more. So we do have a fan page, and that fan page has got 1,000 people on it, and so you can get all the information currently. I also have some sheets that we'll pass around that you can sign up to get our newsletter that we send out each week. So you can stay in touch with what we're doing. And I've got 802 followers on Twitter, and I'd love for you to be the next one. And on that card that I gave you, it says @JohnMerrill62, so you can follow me before we leave tonight. But I'll say this. I think Jordan knows me well enough to know the answer to that question. Not only am I going to be able to keep up that pace, but I'll change gears and put it in overdrive when we start on January the 14th and as we go through April the 28th. Because that's the only speed that I know is full speed. And, it's funny, some of the people that are looking at me now, they're like, that boy's going to run out of gas. He's going to run out of energy. Well, this is what you need to know. I've been to 46 counties. On Wednesday, it'll be 47 counties. And coming up here counts as one time, even though I've been here 9 times already. I've been to Huntsville 12 times. I've been to Baldwin County 13 times, and I've been to Mobile 11. That counts one time to that one county. So I've been to 46 counties, be 47 when I go to Geneva on Wednesday. We've got 80-plus members of the Alabama legislature and numerous elected officials all across the state that have endorsed my candidacy. I have put $126,000 in the bank, and I put 106,089 miles on my car. And I have just put the 3rd set of tires on it. Now, this is what you need to know. I've been doing what I'm doing with you tonight since June of last year. So if I was going to wear out or lay down, I'd already be laying down. I'm not going to be changing anywhere but forward from here. Okay? And I'll be carrying some legislation that's important to me personally, some education legislation. I'll be carrying some legislation that's important to the Secretary of State's office, and there'll be a couple of other things that I'll do, but I'll probably be a little bit more restricted on some of the things that I attempt to do just because I want to make sure that I give my full attention to those items as well as the things that are important to the campaign. Other questions? comments? I can't even answer everybody's question. That's not possible.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Once you're elected, how long before you begin to implement some of those changes in the secretaries, and how do you plan?
Well, I'm going to be doing some of it this term in the legislature because we're going to start to change gears on the way some things are done with the Fair Campaign Practices Acts, also with the elections procedure and the way that things work there. So I have not actually been a part of the task force that has evaluated those two items, but after I decided that I was going to run, I started attending their meetings. So I have only missed probably 3 of their meetings. And so I've been able to keep up with everything that has happened, and I've been able to have influence on the things that they have done. And so we'll start carrying some of that legislation now to make sure those changes are in place. But I'll leave my job formally when I become Secretary of State, when I'm inaugurated. But I'll start going to Montgomery to meet with Secretary Bennett and members of that staff on November the 5th, which is the day after the election. What else? Anything else? That paper didn't draw any questions on either side? Surely it's got to draw some questions. I'll say this, I mentioned my wife. We have 2 children. Our son is 23. He's a graduate student at the University of South Florida. He's getting his MBA down there. He went to the university, was the head basketball manager for 3 years for Coach Grant. Lived in the Coliseum, and there's one little apartment in the Coliseum that's about as big as the mic to right here, right there. It's got a little bathroom in it and a bed, and that's all it's got room for. And he studied math and taught math after he graduated in December until May, and then he left in June to go to Florida, and that's where he is. Our daughter is the student assistant in Coach Battle's office in the athletic department. She worked for Coach Moore till he passed, but she's a junior in business, so she's at the university too. Cindy is the principal of a little bitty elementary school, about 303 students, and she's been a career educator. She's in her 28th year and her 6th year as being the principal. Anything else? Come on now.
U.S. Industrial Development, U.S.
Let me tell you how proud I am to see this crowd. You know, everybody's always bragging on Jordan and what a good job he's doing. That's because he is doing a good job. But you've got to have people that want to work to make a change and make a difference. And the people in this area are working to do just that. You know, one of the reasons why people told me not to come up here is because this has been a Democratic stronghold forever, since Reconstruction. But the people that want to change this place are in this room. And you are not just the future of the Republican Party. You are the power of the Republican Party today. Because the people that take time on Monday night, 6:30, 7 o'clock, to come hear some old person from Tuscaloosa that's trying to run for a statewide office, they're going to vote. They're going to put signs up. They're going to put bumper stickers on the car. I actually have one for each of you tonight. So, you know, you're going to do whatever's necessary to make a positive change in your community, and you're to be commended for that.
All right, well, just for fun, let's
Okay.
ask, how do you feel about windmills?
About windmills?
Yeah.
You mean as an energy source, or you mean just like tilting at them?
All the way around.
Well, I'll say this. I think we need to explore all types of energy sources, because even though, and I'll say this, in my district, District 62 in the Alabama legislature, I have more coal mines in my district, and I have more natural gas wells, coal-bed methane wells in my district than the entire state combined, okay? And I'm a big supporter of those people and what they're doing with Black Warrior Methane and with Jim Walter Resources. Those are the two main sources. But we've got to continue to examine all kinds of options. But when they're not practical, we don't need to be investing, especially public resources, into that area. You know, the automobile wasn't created because they thought we need to give some kind of grant or appropriation for somebody to find a way to put that motor in this four-wheel vehicle to turn a wagon into a car. That didn't happen that way. It happened because people decided, I think I can do this and see if I can get somebody from here to there a little bit quicker than they were in the horse and buggy. That's the way that our nation has always worked, with one exception, and that's in taking a man to the moon. And when we did that, we needed to do it just that way. But even today, space exploration is going private, and the development of the rocket systems and things like that is going private. So I'm for renewable energy, discovering different sources of energy, but we need to be practical about what we're doing too. We don't need to be tilting at windmills like Don Quixote. What else? Anything else? At the table back there with Charlie's Angels all sitting there together. Y'all got anything for me? Okay. And they knew right who I was talking about. Nothing else? Okay. I'm serious about having a way for you to sign up on my, and you got some more business, don't you, Jordan, tonight? So I'm going to get the sheets, and I'm going to start it up here. If you don't sign it, I won't be offended. So if you don't put your name on there with your email address, I won't be offended. Because if you don't get it here, I'll get you at the door. Okay? just play. But I do have some bumper stickers too. So if you'd like to take one, I'd love for you to have one. Because it would be an honor for me to see your car riding down Highway 35 with my name on it. And I'll say this to you too, because some people are reluctant to put bumper stickers on cars. But the ones that I have purchased in every campaign I've ever run are high quality bumper stickers. And I had mine on my vehicle for 1.5 years last time, and I took it off the day after the election, and it came right off like I just put it on the day before. So I will promise you that if you put it on there, it'll come off just that way. Okay. Thank y'all so much for allowing me to come and share with you tonight. It's a pleasure to see you, and I look forward to speaking to each of you again before we go.